Chronicles, chapter 20 and 21. In the spring, the kings marched out to war. Joab led the army and destroyed the Ammonites' land. He came to Rabbah and besieged it, but David remained in Jerusalem. Joab attacked Rabbah and demolished it. Then David took the crown from the dead of their king, and it was placed on David's head. He found that the crown weighed 75 pounds of gold, and there was precious stones in it. In addition, David took away a large quantity of plunder from the city. He brought out the people who were in it, put them to work with saws, iron picks, and axes. David did the same to all the Ammonite cities. Then he and all his troops returned to Jerusalem. After this, a war broke out with the Philistines at Gezer. At the time, Sibbecai the Hushathite killed Sippai, a descendant of the Rephaim, and the Philistines were subdued. Once again, there was a battle with the Philistines, and Elhanan, son of Jair, killed Lahmi, the brother of Goliath of Gath. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam. There was still another battle at Gath, where there was a man of extraordinary stature with 6 fingers in each hand and 6 toes on each feet, 24 in all. He too was descended from the giant. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of David's brother Shimea, killed him. These were the descendants of the giant in Gath, killed by David and his soldiers. Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to count the people of Israel. So David said to Joab and the commanders of the troops, "Go and count Israel from Beersheba to Dan, and bring a report to me so I can know their number." Joab replied, "May the Lord multiply the number of his people 100 times over. My lord, the king, aren't they all my lord's servants? Why does my lord want to do this? Why should he bring guilt on Israel?" Yet the king's order prevailed over Joab. So Joab left and traveled throughout Israel and then returned to Jerusalem. Joab gave the total troop registration to David. In all Israel, there were 1,100,000 armed men, and in Judah itself, 470,000 armed men. But he did not include Levi and Benjamin in the count, because the king's command was detestable to him. This command was also evil in God's sight, so he afflicted Israel. David said to God, "I have sinned greatly because I have done this thing. Now please take away your servant's guilt, for I have been very foolish." Then the Lord instructed Gad, David's seer, "Go and say to David, this is what the Lord says. I am offering you 3 choices. Choose one of them for yourself, and I will do it to you." So God went to David and said to him, "This is what the Lord says. Take your choice. 3 years of famine, or 3 months of devastation by foes with the sword, or your enemy overtaking you, or 3 days of the sword of the Lord, a plague on the land, the angel of the Lord bringing destruction to the whole territory of Israel. Now decide what answer I should take back to the one who sent me." David answered God, "I am in anguish. Please let me fall into the Lord's hand, because his mercies are very great. But don't let me fall into human hands." So the Lord sent a plague on Israel, and 70,000 Israelite men died. Then God sent an angel to Jerusalem to destroy it, but the angel was about to destroy the city. The Lord relented concerning the destruction, and said to the angel who was destroying the people, "Enough, withdraw your hand now." The angel of the Lord was then standing at the threshing floor of the Ornan the Jebusite. When David looked up and saw the angel of the Lord standing between earth and heaven, with his drawn sword in his hand stretched out over Jerusalem, David and the elders, clothed in sackcloth, fell face down. David said to God, Wasn't I the one who gave the order to count the people? I am the one who has sinned and acted very wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Lord my God, please let your hand be against me and against my father's family, but don't let the plague be against your people." So the angel of the Lord ordered Gad to tell David to go and set up an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. David went up at Gad's command, spoken in the name of the Lord. Ornan was threshing wheat when he turned and saw the angel. His 4 sons, who were with him, hid. David came to Ornan, and when Ornan looked and saw David, he left the threshing floor and bowed to David with his face to the ground. Then David said to Ornan, "Give me this little threshing floor plot so that I may build an altar to the Lord on it. Give it to me for full price, so the plague on the people may be stopped." Ornan said to David, "Take it, my lord, the king may do whatever he wants. See, I give the oxen for the burnt offering, the threshing sledges for the wood, and the wheat for the grain offering. I give it all." King David answered Ornan, "No, I insist on paying full price, for I will not take for the Lord what belongs to you and offer burnt offerings that cost me nothing." So David gave Ornan 15 pounds of gold for the plot. He built an altar to the Lord and offered burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. He called on the Lord, and he answered him with the fire from heaven and the altar and burnt offering. Then the Lord spoke to the angel, and he put his sword back into his sheath. At the time, David offered sacrifices there when he saw that the Lord answering him at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. The tabernacle of the Lord, which Moses made in the wilderness, and the altar of the burnt offerings were at the high place in Gibeon, but David could not go before it to inquire of God, because he was terrified of the sword of the Lord's angel.